She's at Manichina's house.
Okay, we're live, I think.
All right, hold
Let me
on.
know if that's working. Is it working?
No.
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 Oh, wait.
Oh, wait.
Refresh. Yes.
Okay, I thought so.
It's working.
It says
It's working.
live for 25 seconds. Okay.
Wait, where's my damn app? It's working. Yay.
Okay, so
Wave at yourself.
let me just get a tweet out there just to make sure if there's people that have, that haven't exactly tuned in yet, they can tune in. Oh,
Good. I was getting ready to say you could go on there and make me as moderator, but it's already. Let's see.
You're gonna have to excuse my coughing. It happens every now and then.
That's fine.
I'm gonna put a little tweet up. Y'all can put tweets up if you got time.
Yep, I'm getting ready to right now. I'm so excited.
Yes, I'm so excited about this as well.
Take a photo.
What's up, IG? Just coming on here to let y'all know. We live up in this bitch. You can go to YouTube, to DD's channel, and check us out. Hey, everybody in the chat. Okay, that's all. Didi, your channel link is in your profile, right?
Yeah.
On IG. Okay.
IG, yeah. Okay. So who we got? We got introverted black girl. Hello. We got Alicia in the house. Brown Eye Reader, Cherry Maple, and Lula Day. Oh wait, it's Rebecca Lula Day. Cool. Hello.
Thank you, Rebecca, for letting us know.
Chatting with us about The Last Thing You Surrender. So we'll just get started. We'll just wait one more minute and then we'll just get in there. So just to let you guys know, we do have a special guest tonight. We have Mr. Leonard Pitts Jr., yes, in the house within another hour. A little bit between ourselves, between each other, and then he'll come in around the 11 o'clock or 5 o'clock mark 1 hour later, and we'll discuss with him and we'll get to ask him questions. We're gonna have some fun, okay? I tweeted. I didn't do any Instagram, but
I did, and I tagged you.
Oh, okay, cool.
Well, you need to go share it to your story.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it now.
Yeah, that's all you gotta do is go click and share.
Hey, Jersey fam.
Hey, Jersey fam.
Hey.
Ooh. I got too many cords in this office. The downside of working at home.
There it is. Okay.
What's up, IG? Just coming here to let y'all know. We live in this. You can go to YouTube channel
You're so funny. Oh my goodness. Hi everyone. Okay, so it's Annie Ma Kim. Hello. Okay. So we can get started. It is now 10 p.m. So I'm sure others will come,
We'll
more.
join in.
All right. So how do we want to start? Let's just give like your overall, rating and what you thought, like in a few words about this book. So who wants to start? If everybody doesn't know, I'm here with Tatiana from Musical Tati and Michael from Michael Reads. These are my live discussion buddies.
Hello.
Yeah. So, okay, we'll start with Michael. What did you think of the book, and what was
Okay.
your?
Overall, I did enjoy it. Come to find out, I think I am one of the few that didn't rate it 5 stars, but I still really enjoyed it regardless. So,
And what is that reasoning behind giving it 4 stars, Mister?
well, as I mentioned earlier, I thought some of the plotting pace, as in like with the time skips and whatnot, I didn't think it flowed that well for me personally. And with the writing, I see your point. We were talking about it earlier. Like in the beginning, it is great. And like it's one of those books where this, for me anyways, like the stories tell is like center stage versus like the flowery writing that I personally enjoy. But I still did like it.
Okay, see, I can appreciate. Fix your face, D. I can appreciate the flowery writing that I enjoy. Comment. I can appreciate that. I got you. You're forgiven.
This
And keep my big mouth shut. Okay.
Well, I rated it 5 stars. I absolutely loved this, and I didn't have a problem with the like time skips because it didn't feel like time skips.
Yeah.
Because it spans like the entirety of World War II, but we are going from like with one storyline, if they're not fighting, it's boring. So
Yeah.
it's like you're going from some of the exciting scenes and then some of the character building scenes, and then you cut to the other characters. But
Yeah.
I can appreciate what you said. It's still 5 stars for me. I thought this was freaking
All right.
brilliant. Y'all, I'm gonna try not to cuss. Y'all know how I get when I get excited. I'm gonna try. I'm probably gonna fail. But I thought this was brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Okay. Well, I thought it was brilliant. There are not a lot of fiction books out there that contain heavy scenes from World War II or any kind of war for that matter that can keep anybody interested, and that can make you understand something within the depths that he manages to make you understand, and that is this idea of the severity of war in the sense of how it can affect you during it, but also once you're out of it. And the thing is, I think all of the particularities around what's described in these war scenes, I mean, it was like having a picture in front of you almost. The way he was just, it was amazing. I can honestly say I don't think I've ever read anything so well done. And I did read, I don't know if you guys know that book, it's called Unbroken by Aaron.
Yes.
Okay, so I need to read that.
Was that the nonfiction one with the rowboats?
About that real guy, what's his name? I don't remember what the guy's name, but I'm sorry, I don't remember. But it was his real life experiences of being in a Japanese camp during World War II. So when I was reading, the last thing you surrender, I said, oh Lord, here we go. That's all I could say was, oh Lord, I got to get my mind right, because there's some serious psychological, stuff going
Fuckery.
on in those camps.
It's
And
not. That's the only word that really goes with it.
but with the depth that I had it in that book, which was probably 10 times more, I felt like I understood it better. And they were
Oh,
scenes. Okay.
okay.
So 5 stars. 5 stars. Okay. All right. Now, let's talk about characters. Okay.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Who were some? Okay. I don't want to say who was your favorite character because I think that's kind of hard to do. Good ones, because I do feel like what Leonard Pitts Jr. does best is the fact that the secondary characters are almost just as important as the main characters. In books, it's not that way. Like your secondary characters are really secondary. I mean, like you can barely even remember their names sometimes.
Right.
And I feel like these characters, they are
integral to the story.
Oh my God.
There's no Luther doesn't have a complete story without books.
Exactly.
And George doesn't have a complete story without Jazzman.
Yeah. You see, another case for 5 stars.
Yeah. Yeah. And Babe was fucked up, man. He came in the war fucked up.
Okay. So, who were your favorite characters in The Last King Surrender?
Okay, so this is going to be interesting for me because this is like, as much as I tabbed this book and I have sticky notes with notes written on them. Wait, where's my camera? As you go through, I did not write down anything.
I don't have anything.
That's because you flew through it, Michael, because you went to the Philippines and read it when you got back. So that's understandable. But I want to say my favorite characters in the book. Jeez. Okay. Jazzman sticks out for me because of the end reveal. The
ending.
Just like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
I love Ollie. I feel like I know an Ollie, but I need them to read this book so that they know you're my Ollie.
Yeah, Ollie.
And then
books I really like.
I really like books. I felt so bad for him. But I liked him too. And then, the main characters, I liked them too. Like, because at first I was a little thrown off by the inclusion of a white character. Yeah. With George being a white character and being such an integral part of the story. But then there's that whole discussion of the right kind of white that makes that is just damn, man.
Yeah, I know.
It's so good. Yeah.
It's brilliant. But the thing is, I felt like once I had gotten to page 200, I'm like, is in boxes here?
So, wait, say that again. When
in boxes? Oh, chick, I got that. Oh, because there was so many things that as Black people, when you're reading it, you can be like, oh yeah, tick. Yes, Leonard. Yes. Yes.
Go to your room.
He got like every facet of the Black experience that you could really think of, that we would think to look at for a past experience today.
Yeah.
It's like he hit every mark.
Hit every and all of the, like when he goes in that whole spiel about explaining how the word hunky comes out, what that really means and where it comes from. Like he makes a really good, he doesn't leave any room for someone to say, I can't relate to that, I didn't understand. It's not possible.
Right.
It's not possible.
If you read this book, you will understand.
You will understand. Everything is laid out for you, and it's laid out for you in a way for you to understand. No matter what race you are, no matter what class you are, you should be able to understand, but not only relate to these characters, each one of them in different ways. You can relate to them and say, oh my God. Oh, yeah. You can feel for these characters so much.
Even like Earl.
Yeah,
Because-
Earl Grey, Lord.
Oh God, yeah. But even that part where she was talking about how they're just like above black people, so that way they could feel as though that they have something. They said they have something above them, so that way they something like gives them hope. But it's just like, yeah, that.
Yeah.
But then that scene happened, and that broke me. I said,
Earl was shit the first time he punched
He punched his wife in the face because she was
in public because she got out of the black section of the bus. But that shit really happened though. Like stuff.
He punched his wife in the face for that. Like, Lord, I was just like, too much.
We'll probably talk about it later, but the thing where it talks about like the last thing you surrender, that part in the book, and I thought each character, in my opinion, had something like the last thing that they would essentially surrender. Like even Thelma, like what was the one thing for me, like when I took out of from the quote with the book was that for me, like the last thing that she surrendered, probably because that situation of her getting raped was like her womanhood. I thought that was like one of the things I was like, wow.
It was her. It wasn't just her womanhood. It wasn't just her womanhood though. It was also her, like for her, because the major trauma that happened to their family with the murder of their parents, that she could remember. That was, something that was always in the forefront of Luther's mind, and that formed who Luther was as a person. And so now you have this adult who was there for this, but doesn't remember it, and has this moment that's a formative moment, and now it's like I get everything my brother ever said in his fucking life.
Exactly.
Like I don't want any of you people around me.
She had to get it in a harsh manner,
and I hate that she had to get it that way.
I hated that as well.
I hate that she had to get it that way.
That's why I went on Twitter and yelled Thelma. in which case, Mr. Pitt said, "Oh hell, that ain't nothing. There's more." And I was like, no.
Oh my gosh. Oh my God. That part where she the baby, I said, oh my goodness. I was like, no.
And okay, so I felt like a whole idiot while reading that, because when she started going back and throwing up, I legit thought that it was trauma. That it was emotional trauma being manifested physically. Yeah. And so then when it clicks, and when she says that, her experience the last time that this happened, I was like, oh, no, you not, Leonard. No, you not.
No. For me, it was the moment where she went back to work and she vomited. And I went, oh, hell no.
I thought that was just a traumatic experience, because I got a fucked up stomach. I get angry or scared enough. I throw up.
It was bad. That day. I was like, he is not gonna do this to this woman. I was like, no. I was like, no.
I thought she was gonna get rid of the baby too, because especially the way that chapter's end, and then the next time we get to her, I was like, oh, she does it, but then it's that time jump. That part with the time jump, I thought was good.
But there's another part that's brilliant as well in his writing, and in this he does really well. So like you have that the chapter where how it ends on Thelma being raped. It starts with two girls double dutching, two young girls double dutching on the street. That broke me down. It's so brilliantly done, because that transition shows you that what exactly she has surrendered, or what has been ripped away from her. That her innocence and her independence and her will to live and to do so many things, because we have to realize is that Thelma is a pretty independent, strong-willed Black woman. Like, she doing it out there. Job, she taking care of the house, she taking care of Gramps, she making the money while Luther's away fighting in a war that he doesn't want to fight in. but she's a very independent Black woman. And to see that happen to her is freaking heartbreaking. And the way he writes it, when you have that next chapter with those two, it starts with those two girls double dutching on the sidewalk. I was done for. I was like, I can't take anymore. I mean, it was just too much, you know.
It was that, and yeah, that just that, and the part of all of the things, because like I would read them, of course, when I was going to bed, because I'll watch My Big Bang Theory every night. So I would read this when I was going to bed. And I was like, well, I'm going to end at a chapter that ends. I'm going to close the book at a chapter that ends on a good point. It took about three nights for me to realize that's not happening.
After chapter 22, it just no, girl, they ain't no good ending nowhere.
It is loss after loss after loss.
Just goes from
I admire Thelma so much because she took the initiative, and we see once she takes the initiative to move from the role that everyone expected her to portray, with continuing to be a house, lady's housemaid, and watching after her kid. We see that there are other women who also made the move to do this, but that was a brave thing to do, particularly in Alabama, like not just Jim Crow South. Like I live in what was Jim Crow South. It was bad here, but Alabama, like it makes me nervous thinking about it with real life people who actually did that, and we see that there are other women who did the same thing, and that they are brave in that form as well, but they still not as brave as Thelma, because Thelma put Flora Lee in the car. And they freaked the hell out.
There was something else I want to talk about. Is did you guys notice how Leonard Pitts Jr. mentions his dad in the book?
I thought that was his dad, and I thought that was so sweet. That was so sweet. That was so sweet. Yeah.
He's mentioning his dad. This is so cool,
Yeah,
I thought it was a brilliant touch.
I do too. And it made the story even more personal, because by the time you get to that point, you're already in it. Like you are in it, you are loving these characters, you're loving the story, and then you get, here's my daddy, and I'm like,
yeah, it's pretty brilliant touch, adding that little part to it. Now, what I want to talk about now is comparing the war experiences between George and Luther, okay? Because George is really going through it in the Pacific, where down that was crazy as fuck, okay? I don't know anything to describe it. I'm sorry I have to curse, but I'm sorry. It was crazy, some of the stuff they were having to go through.
Yeah.
He was over in Europe. I think he was supposed to be in Germany, driving his tank.
But the thing about Luther's experience, first and foremost, is that they were in training forever, because they didn't, as much as the white people wanted the black people to enlist, they were not allowing them, they weren't training them, and they weren't showing them any combat.
No,
they were like, we're here. Like in my mind, I'm like, well, fuck it. If all I gotta do is sit here and chill all day, all right, I can government money and do that. But they were like, we're here.
He does that really good job of showing you that real historical event that happened, where a black soldier really was killed in town. He went to buy some cigarettes or some food or something, and and that really happened. That's a real thing. Okay, so that's not something he made up. That is real.
Wow, I didn't know that.
And so I think that the way he adds that in is brilliant, because one, it's about something that actually really happened, but two, it also shows you the relationship of the U.S. military towards Black Americans. Freaking ruthless. I have never heard anything. I can remember hearing my uncle tell me stories about being in the military. And he was saying things that was, he was not saying nice stuff. Like he said, I wish they would have given me a gun. Okay.
That my granddaddy said some of the same stuff.
You know, he said I was slinging shit all day, carrying this over here and that. My uncle was a fairly big guy, 6'5", you know, and the weight behind him and all the rest. And that's what he was saying when he would, you know, tell me stuff about the war. He said, I really wish they would have given me a gun. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So not a very good experience for African American men going to World War II. But then here again, I think a lot of Americans don't realize that Black Americans have been going to war for, you know, in the US.
Yeah.
We had wars. Okay.
Yeah.
In the Civil War, both sides. Okay. And there were in all the other wars that came after. But people act like they don't know the service that Black American men and women.
They don't act like they don't know it. They choose to ignore it. It's not acting like they don't know it. It's a choice.
So and that right there is a central part of this book, which I feel is you know, is really important, is to show, you know, what Black Americans did. So for example, in the beginning of the book, the first 52 pages is when they're on the ship and George falls off his bunk and breaks his hip when the first bomb goes. And when we see how that Black soldier, the other Black Marine, saves his life.
But was he a Marine? He was a cook.
He's a cook.
Yeah, he wasn't a.
Do they still get that? Okay.
I don't think they gave him. I don't think they gave him a title per se, but yeah.
He winds up saving George only to slip on some grease.
Yo. Okay, so my first question was, if the whole bottom of this ship or whatever level George is on is flooding, why the fuck is this dude down here? Because that's not where the mess is on the ship as far as so how are you even down here? And then
that character is nothing more than the symbol of all of the Black American soldiers that have been forgotten. Okay, that's what that person symbolized. So when
put in there in a way that George cannot afford to forget him.
He can't because he knows when every time he was willing to give up, the black guy was like, so what? You just gonna give up?
Mm-hmm.
Like you can afford to just sit there and say, no,
I guess you just gonna sit here and die then, huh?
Girl, that character right there is everything. That is the symbol of all of those Black soldiers that have been forgotten, you know, that have, literally have not been talked about. So I thought that was also brilliant in the first 52 pages, that we get that dynamic set up where now George has to really think about people's conditions. He can no longer afford to act like he don't know. Okay? He can't.
Because as soon as he comes home, the first time somebody says the N-word,
he just like every time he hears the N-word, he like just like flinching, you know, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Although he lived with people saying the N-word all the darn time.
He lives saying, not just people saying. He said it himself.
So it's kind of, and then I liked how he said when he told his fiance, I'm sorry, we're not getting married. And when she said why, he said, because things are different.
Mm-hmm. And that's such a simplistic way of putting it, but how else?
You know what? If somebody came back from war and they told you things were different, you would say, hell yeah, I believe they're different, you know?
But she ain't got that mind.
No, but the girl's like, what you mean? They're different. What you mean, you know? It's like,
and his parents ruining everything. We were going to be the upper echelon of white bread kingdom.
Yeah.
On the chat, actually, Rachel said something. Why do you all think that George was always woken up out of his sleep by tragedy?
Because he was in war.
That's what I thought so too.
Yeah.
But actually, someone said, was it about getting woke. I think that's actually that's really
actually a good point.
good idea. I'm gonna say that.
Yeah, and it's I think it was about two, because I think Didi, I mentioned this in one of our DM conversations, the transition of George from being called Saint and having that, that mentality and that heartfelt spirituality about himself, and then coming into contact with all of this tragedy and the downside of war and the struggle to maintain his faith while in here. I think that has something to do with it too, along with getting woke and realizing you shouldn't be hating all the black people.
Okay, somebody said I almost within the first 20 pages when I figured out George was white. I was like, why are we reading this for Read So Lit? I made myself continue on, and then it got good. Well, it's not because it's a book written by a black person. Every character is gonna be black.
Right. Because every white people write black characters all the time.
You really be telling people that now in 2020? Really? Come on now.
But it's also integral to understand. I need to get out my thesaurus so I can stop saying integral. To understand and bring about the connections. Yeah. Because it's that one encounter with Gordy that changes George's entire paradigm on how he views his life and how he views the life of others. And then he comes to develop this relationship with and this affinity for, this care for Thelma.
Yeah.
I think the best thing that happened to George is that they thought he died.
It's the same thing with George's dad. That one encounter with Big Floyd.
Yeah.
Yo, Big Floyd.
Come on. That one encounter with Big Floyd was enough to be like, okay.
One with the situation of Big Floyd, I knew when it was on there, it was like the jury was 12 white men. I said, well, we're not gonna get any justice.
Right,
and
absolutely not.
I was like, well, there's that. Oh wait, where'd Didi go?
Uh-oh. I think she just she lost her internet connection. The link will still work for her because that happened to me.
Oh,
she'll be back. But yeah, I we knew that wasn't going to happen, and then the whole Johann's paradigm shift with dealing with Big Floyd and coming to learn and understand that you can try as much as you and that was something for me too, because I really didn't think that foreign white people during that time period had that issue, because I had no idea.
Oh, so Sherry said Pitts does ask the question, what does it mean to be white? That's actually a really good observation.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Because when you think about it also, it's like what the Nazis were what they were.
Ain't no kind of.
Aiming for. It's like, does it mean to be pure white? That was their.
And that's why
their structure.
The character of George's father to convey that idea that clearly, as white trash and racist and backwoods as
Big Floyd
was, telling this other white man, no, you ain't white. You didn't came here from some place where they don't even speak English. No, you're not white. Okay. So when you that is also one of the issues in the book that is layered quite thick. Is trying to explain how one of the major problems in America is racism, and racism it is primarily this idea of who is actually considered at the top of the barrel, all the way down to the bottom of the barrel. And he does it really well, through the father, and then you see how the father was trying to get rid of his accent, and
it slips out when you just sitting waiting. Like, that was just the worst place that could have happened.
But like anybody knows, if you speak a foreign language, if you speak a second language, when you are the most nervous about something, it's when your accent slips out the most. I mean, you can speak French, or I speak French like a French person, but piss me off, okay? Piss me off, or get me upset about something, and girl, it's a rah, 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 rah. It comes out of my mouth. So that scene, I understood it totally. I was like, oh Lord. Well, then I thought, now he's gonna understand what's really going down. Because we're trying to chase after that dream of, I'm gonna get my son married to this girl, and we're gonna be white. We're gonna
We're gonna be white by association.
Absolutely. And so whatever I got to do to get my son to do that, that's what's going to go down.
Oh, and the way that he does it is so dirty. I was like, this is so vaginal. Like this is what you see women doing in soap operas, how they manipulate their kids to do shit.
When Big Boy stuff on his damn chest and told him to get the fuck out of town, girl, then he understood. Okay.
You know, when they were at that train part, I was like, oh, her name was Orange. I thought, oh, she's gonna actually be helpful, and then she was helping him. And then at that point, she feels like, no, I still don't like black people. But I was like, what? You remember that part?
What did you expect her to say?
I thought she was.
Her to say? Did you really expect her to say, oh well, yeah, it, you know, I really like him actually, but I'll just no. Come on now.
That's what I thought, but maybe that was just.
Come on now. Nah. All right. Now, there's another thing we have to talk about is the lynching scene. Now, I felt like, why did he put that in there so detailed?
Have y'all? Speaking of,
I know exactly why he put it in there that detail. Go ahead, Michael.
There was an article I read. I don't know if I read recently. I saw it on Facebook on social media, but it was talking about how lynching recently was just made like against the law, and I was like, what does
and
it?
It's just why does the particular murder of lynching need to be against the law? Because
lynching is lynching. Like, why isn't that? That should have been against the law. I was like, what? Now you're just putting it into legislation like that?
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Lord is right, Rachel. Lord.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But I think that scene was put in there when it was put in there to get Johan. I can't even remember what his name
Johan. It was like Johan
Ellis Island. What was it?
Johan Samik.
Right, but no, what did he change his name to on Ellis Island? What did he? I don't even remember what his name starts out as in the book.
Like his American name?
Yeah.
Oh, John Simon.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that it was put in like it was with Luther relaying the story to John. So to give John, just like Gordy was George's first encounter with having a black person who was ultimately good and willing to sacrifice himself to help George out. Luther telling John, I keep wanting to say James, John, that story at that point is a way to get John to see the brutality of the people that he's trying to get into association with and get to be like. Because the whole how they killed them was just, and the souvenirs, like,
oh god,
that whole thing just was girl.
There was so much about it that was brutal, but also it made me realize too how when you see it portrayed in movies that are set during that time, how much the movies cut out, like how much they water it down to make it seem simpler than what some of those mass lynchings actually were.
Yeah, like that nonfiction book I read about I forgot read it, but it was about a town where basically they lynched all the black people out of the town, and it had like pictures in there. It was really hard to look at.
Yeah,
I was like, oh, okay.
Well, I mean, you see right away in the beginning of the book how much Luther hates white people.
Because as soon as George come to the door, he
watched them literally chop up his family and hang them and burn them. And he was 8 years old, not something an 8-year-old should be and then you think of all the 8-year-old kids that were in the crowd with their parents holding them, giving them
Fingers
and toes to hold just so they could take pictures. It's fucking grotesque. You know,
Yeah.
it's like the worst thing ever. And when you I think that scene had to be written because there was no way of sidestepping it. You don't sidestep a lynching.
Right.
It happened. So suck it up and read it. You need to know that. It needs to be written down and it needs to be read, and people have to know the inhumanity that it was happening.
Yeah.
It still happens today in the States.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
that's why
Still happening.
Emmett Till's mom wanted his pictures in the newspaper so people can see.
So that people could see what
done
lynching
to
does
him.
to the body.
Sherry asked, the question is, how is lynching different from what the Nazis did in Germany?
It's not. It's murder.
Yeah.
And it's murder based on race or religious affiliation.
It's basically someone not the same.
Right. It's yeah.
Yeah, Rosa said even that white boy in jail was messed up by seeing.
Yeah.
Because he even said that. He said, yeah, my dad should have never taken us there.
And his life wasn't right thereafter.
He wasn't right.
And what you say in your mind is it shouldn't have been. That's what the fuck you get.
He said, I think I'm in and out of this place all the time. That's what he said.
Yeah.
Let's talk about like the end, like the final scene.
Yeah. Okay.
I wanted them to get together.
I was shipping them so hard.
I said,
I was shipping
God.
them so hard. And then when she, like with the communication, the letters that they were writing back and forth, I was shipping them so hard. And then when she got raped, I was like, fuck.
Oh no. Yeah.
That's it. That's it for George. Nope. But then when he comes back and she's had that time to do some emotional healing of her own, and George is in the process of doing some psychological healing, and they meet up together, and it's like she is with everything that George has been experiencing when he gets back. Like he freaks out when the patron beside him at the restaurant gets rice with his meal.
Oh, yeah, he flips out. He's like, oh no, rice.
He's like, I see another fucking grain of rice. But I think the two of them coming together and him not caring where she's supposed to be. I don't care where you're supposed to be. Like, you're supposed to be with me.
Yeah.
And them coming together like that. It was so beautiful.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
I wanted them to get together. So even in the beginning, I said, "Oh my gosh, I hope you guys get together." But
when she told him about how she and Gordy got together,
I said,
the only reason, like it was a shotgun wedding, I was like, "Mr. Pitts, what are you doing, sir?" And then she's like, "I've never told anybody that before," and I'm like, "Well, why for this person that you just met?"
I don't know why I'm telling you this.
Yeah, for this person you've just met, you're divulging this information to, but you've never shared this with anybody before. I was like, I know what you're doing, sir.
Yeah, exactly. But another thing that was actually pretty touching was the letter that Thelma writes to Lou when she's trying to tell him about her raped, and then
that's the only part of the story that I cried. That is the only part of, like, I was fine. Like, I was heartbroken during some of the scenes of the story, but when Luther got that letter and how the whole scene of him reading the letter and that is when
he sits down in the middle of that village facing this bakery. This people bakery. And then there's somebody else that reads the letter and he says, "Oh my God, your sister, I'm so sorry," you know.
Yeah. And it's like that whole, like, Luther has literally spent his entire life protecting Thelma. And then this time that he has to go away,
he couldn't protect her.
He couldn't protect her. And then having it happen so closely after he loses his whole platoon, his whole team.
That whole scene, I was like sitting on the edge of my chair.
You know, it reminded me a lot of have y'all watched 1917? There's a moment in there
No,
that
and I
Yeah,
won't.
there is a moment like that in
I was
19.
like, oh, this is just like the scene from there. I was like, oh my gosh.
It's like a downtime.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They're like trying to find some
Some
little
eggs.
bit of happiness or joy, and in fact, they can't. I
You
mean,
done went and got a whole meal,
girl,
and only because you have to pee. This you are the one who escapes this end. And when he said they would have to spray his friends out, they would have to hose his friends out of the wreckage. I was like, oh my God.
yeah,
Like
but
all
you
I
know,
saw in my
that
head
is
was the
often
scene.
what happens in war is simple things like going to pee saves your freaking life. Bending down to tie your
Yeah.
Pick something up. Yeah.
you get saved. Unfortunately, that's often some of the things that happen in war that
And
have.
it's like they heard it. They heard it coming.
Yeah,
He couldn't move fast enough. Books couldn't jump off fast enough. Those guys never would have been able to get out of the tank. And like in my head, when he's describing how that happens, all I saw in my head was the scene in Captain America where they're testing
yeah,
the weapons when
yeah.
at the that Bucky has been taken to when they're trying to go in and get him, and they're testing those weapons, and the people are like gone.
Najiri asked, how do you deal with reading the trauma? Like, how do you deal with the trauma of reading about lynching, though? Oh, that's from a previous question.
Yeah, but I think it's something. I mean, I I could see that it was coming towards that, so I had myself prepared.
Mm,
As I always say, get your mind right.
Mhm.
If I say in a review, you got to get your mind right, that means something is coming. The whole thing is gonna be painful to you. But I still feel like it's something that he had to write in its fullest
Right.
form. There was
And
no
that's
way of avoiding. This was not done in a
like a
some
graphic porn
yeah,
type of
it's not
situation. Yeah.
graphic or whatever. This is to be done to really point out what it really is a lynching, because there's still people walking around today that don't really know what one is. They think
right.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. Not well. It's that's kind of amazing to me because I grew up hearing, like people knowing that
Yeah,
people had members
Yeah.
of their family who were lynched or their neighbors who were lynched. Like, so I think it's somewhere it has to do somewhat too with what you have heard / experience as you're going through, because yes, the brutality of it was gut wrenching, and like I've never heard anything
yeah,
described like that outside of the trophies. Like I've heard
yeah.
about
Yeah,
the
I've heard about the trophies. I've heard about that.
Yeah.
never heard it.
But let's face it, when they talk about lynchings and they talk about Jim Crow and all of that, they don't get into details.
Right.
And they don't
Right.
tell you really what's going on. I
This
think
thing was drawn out.
yeah,
It was purposely drawn out. Not the scene, but how his parents were lynched.
yeah,
It was purposely drawn out to torture them. The people who were there to lynch them weren't thinking about the fact that there were 2 kids and an old man in the house.
no,
It was
right.
purposely drawn out to torture these 2 people who you were killing anyway, to make their death as difficult as possible.
So yeah, so I think there's no avoiding that, but it's not done in a gratuitous manner. It's really he's giving you something that's historical, and he's trying to make people understand
And-
what that
yeah.
really is, because
And
there are people walking around that do not know what that really is.
Mm.
And I think too that having that scene be shown, and to show Luther seeing it, but also to show the reaction of France, because at first they were just coming to kill his father, to kill Luther's father, and in his mother's anger, she acted out, and so then they're like, "Well, bitch, we can kill you too." And the whole time, the mindset of the grandfather is, I have to stay safe because these kids need somebody. And like, what is the dynamics of what that does, or that the family is put into with that? Because that was like a real thing. Like, when you see this brutality coming, and you know what's coming when they come.
You know
And
it's coming. Yeah, you know it's coming.
you know what's coming. It's like when you have a cop that's banging on your door, you know you fucked. Like, you know what's coming.
Yeah.
And that whole, please, like him begging the mother to stop, to be quiet, to leave it be, and him just trying to survive.
Yeah.
And the peace that he gets to be able to die with his grandson, granted grandson from as a result of rape, but with his grandson in his arms.
Yeah.
That was
that was a little bit of a sad moment as well. But
to be born and experience the war and Reconstruction, and then to come and be able to have the blessing of reaching peaceful death with your grandson in your arms. Why the hell that lady leave that baby in his arms like that?
Oh my gosh,
she didn't even pick him up. Why the hell she leave that baby in his arms like that?
Okay, I thought I was the only one.
Kick in, that little baby would have been all kind of hurt up.
Oh my gosh, thank you. That's the same thing I was thinking. I said, so you're just gonna leave the baby?
She's sitting out on the porch crying when Thelma get home. Thelma, I'm so sorry. The baby is still sitting in the man's arms. Like, if this man went into rigor mortis sitting in that chair, and now because they in the South and it was Alabama and it was probably hot as Hades, the first circle of hell, I'm sure that helped delay rigor mortis. But if rigor mortis had kicked in while that baby was still in Gramps' arms, that baby would have been hurt.
Oh my gosh, that's the same thing I said, what is going on here? But if anything, in my mind, it was like this really beautiful image.
Right.
Yeah,
it was a beautiful image for Thelma. But had that shit happened in New York, that baby would have been broke up.
The baby is it's one of those things where, like, I think he had a peaceful death, in my opinion. Like, there wasn't nothing. Like, he reached that point in life. But yeah, that baby.
It was like 103 years old.
Yeah.
Your hope is once you get to be that age, you have some kind of peace. Sherry,
exactly.
Let's not get the sideline of panicking. No, because she checked him. She knew he was gone from this earth. She checked him.
Oh, man.
Maybe he was a toddler at that point, Alicia. I thought he was still.
I thought he was still a newborn.
Yeah, I thought he was still an infant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Am I? Someone says, okay, am I the only one who found it odd that George survived Hiroshima?
No. Not just that George survived, but there were other people who were there who survived too. But that really happened.
That did really happen.
That really happened. There were people who were.
I don't know why people think that people didn't survive that.
Like the hills have eyes. It's like that shit. There were people who survived that bombing and had horrible side effects from the radiation exposure.
Absolutely.
That actually happened. Everybody who was around Hiroshima did not die.
There's like several animes and Japanese like movies that talk about like what happens right after that bomb drops, and it is like devastating.
Yeah,
what happens.
But that's the thing about this novel is a lot of these things, even down to the fact that the troop that Luther is in is also a historical troop.
Yeah.
Okay. Which one? The first one or the second one? Or both?
Patton's Panthers.
Okay.
That's the troop. So, there are a lot of things in here, that are historically, accurate. So, wait, let me just see.
If y'all have any questions, so you could just keep asking on the chat. We'll scroll back up.
He did. The man he was choking did die. Yeah, that's the randomness of bombing. Period. Like there are people who are beside people who step on shells and they don't lose anything. They get sprayed with a lot of body, but they don't lose anything. It's not, it's not a precise bombing. Is not a precise science. It's not an exercise in precision. You're just attempting to make as much damage as possible, and you're not thinking about necessarily getting these specific people. So, and it's random like that. But there were people who survived, and it was just that random. It's like a freaking tornado.
Okay, somebody asked, how did I find out about this amazing read? Okay, I had heard about Leonard Pitts Jr.'s book called Freeman. And I'd heard a couple of people talk about liking that book. One person here in France that I know had read it and they said they really liked it. So I started looking at some of his work and I noticed that The Last Thing You Surrender was on his list as a book that came out last year. So I think it was at maybe when I saw it, I checked what it was about, and I saw that it was about World War II, and that there would be this African American point of view experience. So I said, "Hey, that might be an interesting book for us to read for Read So Lit in February. That might give us some, some information and just new stories on that, because we haven't, and also the fact that we haven't read a lot of Black males for Read So Lit Read Along. So I said, let me just go with this one. And so it was good. It was real good. It was real good. So that's how I found it. So I will probably try to get Freeman.
Yeah, that's the next thing on my list, because now I just want to read. If he's written a fucking article, I want to read it.
Freeman has a very interesting storyline as well. Before, somebody was talking about they were surprised that this book wasn't on the BookTube prize list and that he hadn't heard anyone on BookTube talking about it.
Thank you. I didn't know what the hell BTP meant. I forgot.
Yeah. So I have to say, about BookTube. You shouldn't be surprised. BookTube is on 3 tracks, pretty much, and they don't stray from those 3 tracks. And books by African American writers are not up on the list on BookTube. Never have been, from what I can see, from since I've been on BookTube. I've been on BookTube that long, but since I've been on it, they're not checking for no African American writers. And I don't think it's going to change. Okay, so people are in for the books that are popular with popular names and
new releases.
That's the thing that gets me about like every
I know you hate hearing it, Leo. Award. I'm not sugarcoating nothing. I'm telling you what it is. Okay, that's how it is. I don't like it, but that's
popular books or the popular authors show up 99.9% of the time.
Yeah.
In the award picks.
Yeah, and it's sadly on most of these platforms. That's what's happening. The books that are the most popular are rising up to the top, and everything else is all the way down at the bottom. And you really have to look for what you're reading, people. You need to check what you're reading. You need to check the writer's name and who they are and what they're reading. You can't just be trusting people to find books for you. You need to check what you're reading. Because you can't count on the BookTube prize giving you all the good books, or
the man Booker,
Bookstagram giving, or Lexi giving you
Michael, your face.
Goodreads. They be crazy on there on Goodreads.
Oh God. The Goodreads Awards, that means nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
It should have been called the Who Has the Most Marketing
totally
Award.
algorithm based. It's not.
So I hate to be negative, but
it's the truth.
It's the truth.
It's the truth. Yeah.
Someone was asking,
that way.
someone was asking, was Gramps secretly in love with Isola? I think he just would have.
I think, yeah, I don't think it was
Probably.
that he was secretly in love with her. I think he liked her like as a person, but did not want his routine disrupted. And she was a further example because Thelma was going and she was working every day at that white woman's house and taking care of her kids. And then Thelma was coming home and cooking dinner every day.
Yeah.
Like, so she was taking care of work and she was taking care of home. And
Yeah.
so he may have known, because they all live like this community. It sounds like when you're reading it, like it's a community street like we live on today.
Yeah.
And it was not a community. Like the car that Thelma used to get to work when they got the car probably took up the whole street.
Yeah.
So these people all live so close together. I think he likes her as a person, but he didn't want her in his house because that's another disruption to his routine. He was 100+ years old. He liked his routine. I don't think he had any thoughts about getting up and going up on anybody, because this get up and go had got up and gone.
Okay, we didn't talk about Flora Lee.
Yes.
Come through, Flora Lee. Come through with the bullet, girl.
Yes. Come through with the bullet. But I hate that she sat there and she talked to him. Like, I wanted him to open the door and she just be like, hi, bow. Like, I didn't want her to have I didn't want her to have a whole conversation with him.
No,
the whole conversation and then doubting whether or not you could do it. Bitch, you can do it because he's gonna kill you if you don't.
My hand started shaking. I was like, oh Lord, he gonna pull a gun off her. No, don't do it. No.
Right.
That's what I thought so too.
Yes, yes, come.
Yeah.
Yes, she did.
And so her finger made the decision for her. Her finger is the smartest part on her body.
Brittany asked a really good question. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say Flora Lee is like that character, is that white person that is so utopically naive that they think that they don't want to understand that she can't ride in the black man's car because it's not gonna work, or she doesn't understand why black and white people just can't be friends.
Right.
Yeah. Able to understand that. So,
and I don't even think it's that. I don't even think it was why black people and white people couldn't be friends. It was why she couldn't be friends with black people, because she said over and over again, we're white trash.
Yeah,
she said that, like, we're not better than black people. So I don't even think it was just white people. I think it was certain that right kind of white, certain kind of white people. Yeah. And she was not one of those certain people.
She's probably going like class. She was thinking about her class.
The
class she considered.
And when she passed out on that bus, what white person moved to fucking help her?
I said, y'all can't even let this woman go on the. I said, Jesus.
Nobody.
Y'all see, she fucking. You making her stand. The only people who got the decency to get up and let her sit down is the black people at the end of the bus. Then she gets some cheese, get off the bus, and Earl punch her in the damn face.
He punched her in the face.
Me.
Brittany asked, after reading these books by Black American authors, have you ever been so impacted by the history or storyline that they cause a paradigm shift in your everyday thinking regarding your own life? So like I guess she's asking like a really...
We have a special guest here in the house.
Yay.
Mr. Pitts, can you hear
Howdy.
Can you hear us?
Mr. Pitts.
Oh, yeah.
Hi.
I'm hearing y'all. I've been enjoying myself.
Thanks for joining us tonight.
Yes, ma'am. Glad to be here. Let me get this camera centered.
Great.
Okay.
There we go. There we go. All right.
Okay. Have you been following our conversation so far, or
with great joy? Yes. I've been like, what I said, I'm gonna wait for an hour, so I'm like, come on, clock. Yes.
Okay, well, thanks a lot for coming and joining us. We really do appreciate you coming in. All these people that are here in the chat room are just major fans of you now, and
Well, thank you.
they loved your book. There isn't one person in here that is not on the 5-star, 4-star mark. They love.
I was getting ready to say, wait, we got one.
Thank you.
So, is there any, do you want to ask us anything in particular, or would you like us to ask you questions?
No, I'd prefer to hear your questions. Go
Okay.
for it.
All right. Go ahead, Tatiana, if you have any, if you have a question.
Okay, yeah. My question, coming from like hearing stories from like my grandparents, my grandfather who fought in World War II, and some of the things, the brutality and detail that's put into the mutilation of the American soldiers that George and his platoon see when they get into Japan and they get to the section where the soldiers are mutilated. Good God. Like, did you hear stories like that? Like, cause I never heard anything like that graphic, and I'm pretty sure my grandfather like cut some things that even he experienced. But did you hear like direct stories of that, or is that stuff that you something that you pull from research and everything? Because
that's more research than anything.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't. My father served in the European theater, who was on the Red Ball Express, and we didn't really talk a whole lot about what he did. So I really had no war stories from family to draw on. So basically, what you saw in that section was just a lot of research. I had a general sense of what they did and what happened in war, but I wanted to be able to be really definitive and to be able to speak about it with some authority. So that's a whole lot of research that went into that. Oh, and before you ask another question, I do have to defend Isola leaving the baby in the old man's arms. First of all, she wasn't a newborn by then, if I recall correctly.
Okay.
And it had just happened. It was just like within the last 2-3 minutes. Give Isola a break. Okay, back to your regular program. You have been listening.
I gave Isola no breaks because all I think was, why are you on the punch? Oh man.
Okay.
Funny. All right. Let's see. Does anybody have any? Okay. What about you, Michael? Do you have any questions?
No, I think not that I can think of right now.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
When you started writing this book, did you start writing with the idea, or did certain characters come into your mind first? How did you start to attempt this great book that you wrote?
I always had George and Thelma. They sort of came first, and then Luther kind of barged into the book. That's one reason the book became as long as it did, because Luther wasn't really supposed to be there as a major character as he was. But as I became acquainted, as some of you have noted, the theme of the book is just how we treat people as human beings. Just the different ways that we have of mistreating people across lines of race or religion or whatever, what have you. And once I became aware of the 761st and found these stories of them liberating the concentration camps, the German concentration camps, I had to have somebody there. And so because that's sort of that's probably the greatest atrocity. It is the greatest atrocity of the war. The Holocaust. So I had to have somebody there, and that's sort of where Luther comes up. And then John Simon barges his way into the book a little bit. He wasn't supposed to be as big as he was, but certain characters sort of that they do things and they become things that you don't intend for them to do or to become. And that's when you know that you've got something working. That's when you know that they're living and breathing, when they won't just sit there and be what you told them to be. But originally it was basically George and Thelma's book.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I love to hear authors say that, because I think it just makes it like as personal as these people are become to us as we're reading it, to know that they're that personal to you as well. I love to hear authors say that. Yeah.
Okay, I got a question now. So since you're talking about Thelma and
George,
did they end up together at the end?
Like the end beyond the end.
Technically, as the reader.
At the end. Now, if you're asking me what I think happens to them, I do have an idea for a sequel that I don't know if I'll ever write.
Sequel.
I don't know if I'll ever write it, but if I do write the sequel, they would end up married and living in New York, because you can't live in Alabama.
They would end up married and living in New York, and then coming back to New York 20 years later, coming back to Alabama 20 years later for the at the Selma March, the civil rights movement.
You gotta write this.
Yeah, I may end up writing that. We'll see what happens.
That sounds excellent. You definitely write that.
So chill about it, and we're like, do it.
And I'm thinking like, work.
Yeah, that would be really, really good to read. It would be really interesting to read.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got a couple of questions. Let's see. Somebody wrote, who was the hardest character to write?
George. Only because, and it's not because he was white. A lot of people ask me, how was it to write a white character like write anybody else? Wasn't really a big problem. But he was difficult to write in the sense of trying to keep his idealism, his religiosity and all that, and express those things without him seeming like a mannequin or a cardboard character.
Yeah.
So he was kind of difficult to write from that point of view. I wanted him to be a decent guy, and a guy who took his faith seriously, but at the same time a guy who was clueless about a lot of things regarding race, regarding his faith, regarding a lot of that stuff. So he demanded a lot out of me, and a lot of revisions and stuff.
Yeah. And then somebody asked, how difficult was it to write Flora Lee?
I liked Flora Lee. Flora Lee was not particularly difficult to write. I don't think any of the other characters were particularly difficult to write. Flora Lee was fairly easy to write. Again, you got to get to her motivation, and you have to offer an explanation for why she's different from so many other white people in the places she came from.
Yeah.
So you've got to kind of deal with that and build in a backstory. But I designed her to be, and I found her to be a very sympathetic character. This woman who basically, has always been ostracized. She's always been on the outside. If you remember when Earl Ray comes to her and first starts courting her, she's sitting on the edge of the picnic because, even among her own people, she's not someone who's very popular. So, that aspect of it was really interesting and a lot of fun to bring to life on her.
Yeah. And henceforth, the reason why he chose her, because he could dominate her and make her do whatever he wanted her to do. And that
was Earl Ray's thing. Earl Ray has, I don't want to say inferiority complex, because that sort of trivializes the monster that he is, but he basically is this guy who spent his whole life trying to be bigger than he is. He's got the birth defect. He's not very tall. He's not the brightest guy in the room. So he reacts to that with basically this rage that's never too far from the surface. Rage against African Americans, obviously, but basically rage against anybody who's
different than him, or who can be seen as better than him,
or who doesn't, who seems to look down on him and his prerogatives as a white man in Jim Crow South.
Okay, there's another. Is there a reason why George becomes the most conflicted at the end?
I don't think George is so conflicted at the end. George is dealing with PTSD at the end, which they didn't have a name for at that time, or they called it shell shock or battle fatigue. But George is dealing with PTSD at the end. Even in that last scene, he's standing up for Thelma, and he's making a statement about who he's become racially. Yeah. But by going off on that guy and almost, punching him out, there's also PTSD in that scene. So he's not really conflicted. He obviously feels something for Thelma, and she obviously feels something for him, and it's not so much conflicted over what they feel. It's like you don't know how to feel that if you're black and white on Christmas Eve in 1945 in
Yeah.
Alabama.
Right.
In Alabama.
In
Yeah.
Alabama. How do we do that?
Yeah.
Is that even
And with the mixed race baby, right?
yeah.
There.
And with the mixed race
Yeah.
baby born from rape.
Yeah.
How do we do that? I don't even know. If I do go forward with a sequel, I've got to figure out what that looks like, because I have no idea. You know, I could do a interracial relationship in 2020. That wouldn't be that hard, but you know,
An interracial relationship in the 40s.
in
In the
1945, that at the very least begins in Alabama. It's got to get the hell out of Alabama as soon as possible. But that at the very least begins in Alabama. What's that look like? I have no idea. That's one of the things that I have to do in terms of researching, is find some memoirs from people who went through that and try to figure out, you know, how that works and what that looks like.
Yeah, I think of the male characters in the story, George had the most to learn.
Yeah.
In his development from page 1 to the end. He had the most to learn because he had lived this privileged lifestyle because that's what his father wanted him to have. And then to have to deal with first being your whole bottom half of your body being jacked up on a ship before you even see combat.
Exactly.
And then being saved by this black man who ends up dying, and you have a paradigm shift in your mind. And he goes from looking at black people differently, looking at his faith differently, to experience war and coming home. What the hell do I do now? That whole he most Luther has already experienced a great tragedy with watching his parents be murdered.
A very young age.
I think the thing about George that was interesting to me is, if you had asked George, you know, on December 6, 1941, if you talked to him, you know, he would have been, in his own estimation, a pretty good guy. And by comparison with a lot of the other people of that era, he would have been a pretty good guy. But that didn't mean he was actually a good guy. You know, he was a guy with this great faith, but it's this sort of faith. It's an easy faith to have. It's easy to have faith when you're white and rich in Jim Crow South. You know, you've never been tested. You've never really been through anything. So, you know, he had this sort of easy faith. He wasn't the kind of racist that's going to burn a cross on your lawn. He's not going to call you the N-word, or he's not going to say it to your face. You know,
to your face,
casually. You know, with family and friends, but he's not that kind of guy who's ever going to have that face-to-face hostility with you. He's going to look down on people who are lynching and stuff. But at the same time, he is a racist.
Yeah.
And you know, so his journey in the book is coming to, I guess, replace those easy truths of his life in terms of faith and in terms of race with stuff that's a whole lot harder, but a whole lot more lived. You got to remember that, you know, George, the racist, becomes a victim of racism in the Japanese POW camp.
Absolutely.
You know, because they thought of Americans as a Mongol race, as an inferior people. And George is, you know, for the first time in his life, he's this guy for whom being white is not a get out of jail free card. Being white didn't mean anything in that situation.
Somebody else asked, do you intentionally write history in to educate while entertaining your readers?
Education is a far second, actually. I think the first thing you got to do is entertain before you can do anything as a writer of fiction. So,
or just wreck them.
I'm sorry,
or just wreck them.
I didn't know the book was going to wreck people. I was enjoying. I have to tell you, I was enjoying y'all's Twitter feed. Was that you, Dee Dee, at Thelma and all caps, 12 exclamation points? And I'm saying to myself, well, you ain't seen nothing yet. Whenever somebody tells me I'm on such and such a chapter and I'm really, you know, emotionally overwrought, I say to them, you still got a long way to go.
You still have a long way to go.
But I want people to. I think that we have this in this country, in the States, we have this thing of where, you know, we protect ourselves from history. I think white people protect themselves from African American history because they don't want to feel guilty. And a lot of black people protect themselves, or, you know, from it because they don't want to feel guilt, or they don't want to feel outrage. I mean, they don't want to feel shame, or they don't want to feel outrage. but what happened happened. And
Yeah.
what happened impacts us whether we acknowledge it or not. So my
Or
philosophy
not.
about history has always been to tell the truth and shame the devil. I used to have a friend who told me I was a Stephen King of African American history because I like to make sure the details are in there. But I'm a firm believer in that the whole axiom, if those who will not learn from history are doomed to repeat it. So I really get impatient with this whole sort of wishy-washy, mollycoddle, sugar and spice version of our history. No, let's talk about what happened, because the bottom line is you find it painful to hear about. Somebody had to live it, and I think that was a little bit more painful.
And somebody related, not just somebody had to live it.
Yeah.
Somebody related to you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, somebody you know had to live. Yeah.
So far removed from our experience that being people who were born in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Wait, Michael.
What?
It's so like our experience that we can go out of my door and talk to someone who has a family member of their previous generation who had to experience this firsthand. So I'm just listening to you talk about that. I'm loving your passion behind it because I love that.
Somebody's written one that's really interesting. It says, there is a line that I flagged. George had come to the conclusion that you never really knew Negroes. And somehow Negroes seem to always know you. Can you unpack this one? This is
Can I unpack that one?
Yeah.
Well, I think that anytime you are living in a world where people above you, figuratively above you, are making the rules by which you have to live, then it is incumbent on you to know them in a way that they can never know you, because you have to protect yourself. I believe, although I don't think I've written about this, but I believe that women know men in a way that men will never know women. I've always believed that. I think because if you're a woman in the business world, let's say, you have to learn all the male habits, the male this, the male that. There have been very few situations where, as a man, you go into a business place and you got to learn how women think or how women do things. Even if you got one or two women bosses, the general culture of the place is going to be male. And in the United States, you can have Obama as president, you can have this, you can have that, but the general culture is still white. And so, to be African American in that culture, to have any kind of success or to do any kind of climbing, you gotta know white people, and you got to know them in a way that they will never know you. You're gonna have to read People magazine. They're never gonna have to read Essence. I mean, to really, to kind of oversimplify.
Say that shit.
But that's the bottom line. That's the bottom line. You're going to read People magazine. You're going to read Time and Newsweek. They will never read Essence or Jet. God bless Jet. They'll never have to read those. Yeah. Because it's not necessary for them to have success.
Yes.
So that's what that line with. That's what George is realizing. That's what George is realizing. He is known in a way that he has never had to know.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
All right.
That was so good. I'm sorry.
Someone asked, including research, how long did it take to write this book?
Oh my God, there were 2 years of research and 2 years of writing, I think. So probably about 4 years. Good 4 years. Yeah. A good 4 years.
It's precious.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think it's that you took the time to do the research, because I know there's some writers, they hate doing research. They never want to do research. But that research that you did was just so fundamental, I think, in helping you write the story to make it the most authentic possible, so.
Well, I mean, there's two things there. One, if I'm going to be telling the story of the World War II generation, my fear is that somebody, and they're all up in their 90s now, but my fear is that somebody from that generation is going to look at it and say, "Oh, this ain't what happened." And that would just break my heart. A soldier or a Marine or somebody, look at it and be able to say, "Oh, that would break my heart," because I feel like I owe it to them to represent them as the best, to the best of my ability. So I was really cognizant of that. The other thing, as a writer, I mean, I don't think anybody likes research, but you like knowing what you're talking about. You like
Stephen
King. had a line somewhere, I think maybe in his book on writing, that you have to research enough to know to be able to sell the lie. All of fiction is a lie. You're telling this story, you're creating this world, and you're telling people it existed. And in order for people to believe that, you have to believe it. In order for you to believe it, you have to be able to get the details right. And if you can't get the details right, then people are going to see through it, and it's not going to work. So you have to put in that time. Library of Congress, and get your stack of books and work your way through that, and interview people if there's people to interview. All of that stuff is necessary to being able to sort of to do that, to put that together.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, there's another question from Lula Day. He asked, was it your choice or the publishers for the title?
Mine. The title was my choice, and I don't usually like longer titles. That's a 5-word title, but there's nothing else the book could be called. Nothing else the book would allow itself to be called. I thought about The Thing You Last Surrender or whatever, but it just worked. The Last Thing You Surrender was the way it worked.
I think we surrendered a lot during reading this book.
Yeah.
I can't take it anymore. I think I've given a kidney, a lung.
Yeah. Thank you.
I just gave everything. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's why I had said, is this actually referring to the characters and the readers? Or
Right.
wow.
Everybody.
We went through it.
I do want to make a comment. I tend to say I have a question. It ends up just being a comment. So whatever it is, we'll figure it out as we go. The characters of Books and Jazzman.
Oh, love them.
I love them so much.
Yeah.
Particularly Books' upbringing, because Books is the result of what a lot of Black people who grow up in the South want for their kids. They who grew up in Jim Crow South, they wanted to move away because they didn't want their child to have this Black experience that they had. And then Books comes back and he's thrust into that experience as an adult. And he has absolutely no frame of reference.
Right.
For the life that he's being thrust into as a Black soldier, having to deal with white folks and white racists.
He thinks he knows. He thinks he knows, but he doesn't.
Right. And then Jazzman being the passing, white person who the only reason why he chose to pass is so that he could serve.
Yeah.
And just like the beauty when George and Babe walk up to his house and these two Black parents come out the door, my heart just was like, this all makes sense.
Well, it's funny because I didn't know Jazzman was white until probably a third of the way or halfway through the book. I mean, didn't know he was Black, rather. I didn't know he was Black until about a third or halfway through the book, and then it just occurred to me, wow. That would be an interesting twist to put on it. So that's where that came from. But I had no idea that he was.
I thought it was brilliant. That was but that was some of the best things about your book is that there was always a little surprise around the corner.
Yeah,
a little something here, there. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Thank you for Jimmy Lunsford because I'd never heard of him before. I'd heard the song, but I'd only heard Jimmy Lunsford.
Oh yeah.
I've never heard of him before. I heard the song, but only sung by Ella.
Okay.
So as soon as I saw that, I went and looked. I was like, "Is this a real person? It's a real person. Like it's a whole big band recording of the song with him on YouTube." And I never heard of him before. I'd only heard Ella's version of the song.
I spent a lot of time listening to 40s music. I can't. Did I work in the song? We're gonna have to slap the dirty little Jap, which was like the nastiest piece of propaganda. Did I work that into the book? I can't recall.
No, but I'm writing that
to be in the book, and I ended up taking it out. But there was a song that was released called "We're Gonna Have to Slap the Dirty Little Jap," and it's like this. It's the most racist piece of, I mean, it's wartime propaganda, so there it is. But listening to the music of that era was just fascinating and an education.
I bet.
Yeah.
I wrote it down.
Never heard of it. You can find it. You can Google it, or you can iTunes it. It's readily available. It's not a good. I mean, even just as a song, it's not a good song, but it does sort of capture. On top of it being racist and terrible, but it really kind of captures where the country was, I guess, and right after Pearl.
at that time.
Yeah. Now everybody's looking for you, gonna. Okay. Okay.
I have another question for you from Rachel Ray. She wants to know. She said you said earlier Luther came to you. Do characters come to you in your day-to-day life, or in dreams, or someplace else?
Characters usually come when you're doing something where you're awake and your brain doesn't have to be fully engaged in whatever it is you're doing. Characters come when you're taking a shower. Characters come when you're driving. Characters come when you're taking a walk. Characters come when again you're doing something, but you don't have to have your full concentration of your brain for it. That's where characters come from.
Okay.
And as I said, Luther wasn't intended to be what he was. He just kind of barged into the book.
What about Ollie? I loved Ollie.
Ollie.
Yes.
Ollie was great.
That's
and Ollie was
one.
brave.
I didn't know. Yeah, Ollie was what I needed to fictionalize the riot, the 1943 riot, and Ollie was just sort of a mechanism and a means to do that. But again, I didn't know Ollie was going to be Ollie until Thelma was actually over on Pinto Island and needed somebody to talk to. I literally was writing the scene, had her standing there, and trying to figure out, okay, how do you figure out where to go? I know this guy Ollie will come up and talk to her. And that's where Ollie came from, and it sort of expanded from there. Sometimes characters just appear on the page.
The thing about this is I could actually see this. Netflix needs to get this and make it.
Hello,
they're not going to do that because they're not going to want to do the lynching scene. They're not going to do it. They're not going to want to do the lynching scene.
On screen, it would be awesome to see.
HBO would do it. HBO would do it.
Or FX.
Yeah, HBO would do it. I mean, they did one for Watchmen, so.
Yeah,
the lynching scene would be difficult for people, but it's central to the book. Without the lynching scene, you don't understand Luther. Without the lynching scene, Luther's just an angry man.
But because even like in the movie 12 Years a Slave, when Solomon is considering is considering running, and he comes across these two black slaves that are roped up with the white slave catcher, and that lynching episode, it went way faster than I think it probably went in history.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah,
I think Hollywood tends to gloss over.
Well, lynching in the era after slavery was really not what it's usually presented to be. It's usually presented as 2 or 3 crazy, black men out in the woods somewhere where nobody knows what's going on and lynch him, and it wasn't that.
I think it
froze just a little bit.
Monica Reeds asks, "What's the next story that you'd like to tell?"
I think
sequel. I think he's frozen a little bit.
Frozen, Dee Dee.
Yeah.
Oh.
He'll be back.
Yeah.
He'll come back.
Yeah, there might be a bit of a connection glitch.
Yeah. It'll come back. The link is still active if you gotta close it.
Okay.
Do you want to message him and tell him just in case?
Yeah, I'm gonna send him a message.
Okay.
You might just have to just reconnect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. There might be something wrong with his thing might be slow.
Oh.
Wait. Oh crap.
Yeah, he'll come back.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, there he is. Yay.
Okay. All right.
So
is there the next story I'd like to tell? I'm still deciding.
Oh,
I'm still trying to figure that out. I've got a few candidates. I'm actually rereading a novel that I did 25, 30 years ago that was never published, and I was reading it with an eye toward rewriting it, and I'm actually looking at it saying this actually is pretty good as it is. So,
all right.
We'll see if anybody agrees with me, but
So this could be a 2021 novel.
Yeah, we'll see. It's nice to read something old and not be embarrassed by it.
That's true.
Great.
True.
Yeah.
Usually when you read old stuff, it's like, oh my God, what the hell was I
Oh my
thinking?
God, what was I thinking?
What the hell was I thinking?
Yeah. Yeah.
Another question is there publicity for your book in Europe or other parts of the world? Are your novels translated by any chance for our international viewers?
The only novel that I'm aware of that's been translated is my novel Grant Park, which is in German. But other than that, I'm not aware of any translations.
And what's it about, your novel Grant Park?
Grant Park is a novel that takes place in two time periods. It takes place in the spring of 1968 in Memphis, and it involves my character Malcolm, and his involvement with Martin Luther King, and on the eve of King's assassination.
Okay.
And also there's a white character, Bob Carson, who is involved with in love with this black woman, and sort of how the 60s sort of pushed them apart. That era of the 1960s, when she decides that she has to go and she put to be with her people, and he kind of carries a grudge about that for 40 years. And then the other part of the story takes place in 2008, on the eve of Obama's election, when Malcolm is now a newspaper columnist, and Bob is his editor, and Malcolm writes this really angry column that nobody will publish. The lead of the column is, "I'm sick and tired of white folks bullshit." And the paper won't publish it, and so
I would so read that.
And so Malcolm hacks the newspaper system and publishes it anyway. And then he gets kidnapped by these two white supremacists who wanna kill Obama. And Bob goes looking for him because what he's done is just cost Bob his job. So it's sort of
wow.
Yeah, it's sort of dealing with.
That's on the list.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's sort of dealing with what happened to us in terms of race, and in terms of the hope of we shall overcome, whatever you want to call it, in that 40 years between 1968 and 2008.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah.
It's a completely different kind of story. I will say that. I meant it to be kind of funny. I don't know if people actually get the humor in it, but it was meant to be, kind of darkly funny, darkly humorous.
Oh.
Yeah.
Someone asked, who are your favorite writers?
That's a good question.
Oh, Stephen King, Stan Lee, Mary Doria Russell. Who else? Used to have a thing for Joseph Wambaugh for some reason. Don't ask me why. Just sometimes just whoever happens to be in front of me. I've really been getting into Marilyn Robinson lately. Her book.
So good.
Yeah, and her book. I forget the name of it. The nonfiction. It's a book basically contemplating the possibilities of God. Absence of Mind, I believe it's called. And I've read that 2 or 3 times. It's just a fascinating book. I like Lauren Hillenbrand. Just a bunch of folks.
Okay.
I picked up my first. Picked it up. Haven't read it. The Sparrow at the end of last year. So
Mary Doria Russell.
Yeah.
Is that the first part? It's a 2-part thing. The science fiction book.
Yes.
I think, is that part 1?
I have no idea. I heard someone talk. I heard from different people them talk about how much they enjoyed it, and
that was that was a really good book. I'm trying to remember if that's part 1 or part 2 of the story, but it was a really good book.
I hope it's part 1 since I got it.
Yeah. I hope it's part 1 too, just for you. Yeah, but I love Mary Doria Russell.
Yes, The Sparrow is part 1.
Okay, thank you, Alicia.
Oh, wait. Let's see. Yeah, it's part 1. Part 2 is Children of God.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, let's just see if there's any other questions. Somebody said they looked up Chim Cham Boogie. I already looked it up.
I didn't even know that was what it was called. Like that was, I was like, I'm supposed to know this stuff.
Every song referenced in there was a real song. So
Real song.
yeah,
Well,
yeah,
it's just
Shim
what I
Sham
thought.
Shim
Yeah.
Sham Boogie was a real song.
Uh,
Yeah.
How did somebody asked? How did publishing your first book change your process of writing?
It did. Yeah, I mean, writing is writing,
Mm.
and you find a process that works for you, and you go for it. So, I can't think of any way that it changed the actual work. It probably made me a little bit better known, but other than that, it didn't really change the actual work. The work is what the work is.
Are you more of a planner? Like, do you plot everything out, or
No,
do you?
I used to try to do that, and I couldn't. I couldn't make it work. And I read again Stephen King's book on writing, which kind of gave me permission to not plan. So essentially, as I said, with this book, with The Last Thing You Surrender, I started out knowing a few plot points, but the rest of it I just sort of winged it. I knew that Earl Ray was going to do what he did, or something very awful, and I knew he was going to die for it. But at first, I thought it was going to be Gramp who killed him. And then I thought
Oh, that would have been great.
the best person to kill him, and then I thought it was going to be Thelma who killed him. But then I realized that the person that needs to kill him
It's Flora Lee.
is Flora
Oh,
Lee.
yeah.
She needs to kill him. She needs to be the one who does it. So stuff like that. Like I said, with Jazzman, I didn't know that he was passing until about a third or halfway through the book.
That was such a cool plot point right there.
Yeah.
So
That was-
you literally make it up as you go along. I didn't know Jazzman was going to be a character until he showed up in the boat. So I don't do a lot of planning. Yeah, I know the general outline of the story, and then you sort of write to see what happens.
So when you start to write, do you know what the ending is going to be like before at the beginning, or do you just worry about the ending when you get there?
I knew I wanted them to end up on that bench, and I wanted it to be Christmas.
Okay, yeah. All right.
And I was, the question was, can I get them there honestly? Can I get them there in a way that feels right, feels true? So I was driving toward that bench, and I got them there, and it did feel honest after all that they
it did.
It did.
It did. It was like the full realization of the changes that took place in George while he was away, and saying, I don't care, come on.
Mm-hmm.
You with me.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it ends like it starts. Except the beginning, it's on a porch in front of Thelma's house, and at the end, it's on a park bench. I just think
in George's neighborhood.
360, it comes full circle.
Yeah.
With all of everything they've both been through, they've come full circle, and
but they both changed a lot, and there's a little baby sitting there or toddler sitting there who wasn't there before. So yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Gosh, you got to write a part 2 to this. So good.
I'm thinking about it. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. You can't leave us hanging on that one. I mean, I could just see so many cool things happening in that kind of story.
Well, as I said, I've got sort of some basic ideas have come to me for that. So, we'll see what comes out of it. I at this point, I haven't committed myself to it yet. I haven't committed myself to anything yet for the next book. So it's a matter of we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll keep my fingers crossed because that one has got to be a good one. All right. Okay. Rachel Ray asked, was there a reason we got to see the actual letter from Thelma to Luther? This was unlike how we learned about the contents of the other letters. The structure was different.
Because we needed the whole thing. We needed to see her reasoning. I was curious to see it myself. How do you explain all of this that has happened? Oh, by the way, I was raped. There's been a white woman in your house, and you're an uncle. That's not the thing to me, the kind of thing you can dash off in a paragraph.
No.
Where you just sort of paraphrase it. I needed to see. I really had no idea how she was going to do it.
I think it's fitting, though. It was a fitting for the time period. People wrote letters a lot anyway.
Yeah.
And I mean, she would not be able to literally open her mouth and tell her brother everything.
Yeah.
I think
because she wasn't able to say that she'd been raped up to that point.
Yeah.
She wasn't able to verbalize it up to that point.
Very difficult. She could only do it in a letter. And the way she was very delicate, how she tried to present it to him. So, it was normal.
Yeah, but there's no delicate way to say those things.
No, it's not.
Which is what
that part, that scene, that whole freaking scene, that got me, man.
Well,
Yeah,
it's interesting.
I was
it
fine
reaches.
until I got there.
I'm sorry.
I was fine until I got there. That whole
You said that's the
scene
scene
with
that
him.
made you cry.
Yeah, that whole scene, that just I don't know what it was. I don't know if it's because I'm an older sibling or oldest sibling, and you fuck with my siblings. I don't know what it was, but that scene got me.
Well, it had to reach him when it did. It reached him having just dealt with the racist bakers, and it reached him just a few days after he had lost
losing his platoon.
And it also reached him after he had, gone to the concentration camp.
Yeah, and liberated.
So those three things had just sort of really worked on him.
Yeah,
because otherwise,
and it kind of go ahead, finish what you say.
I was gonna say otherwise his response might not have been what it was.
True.
And two, it allowed him, because he had been a little standoffish from his new platoon that he was in, the new group of men that he was serving with. It kind of opened him up to them more because he needed some support. At that time.
Yeah.
Man, that was
Is there any more questions? Let's see. Did we get all the questions?
I think so, because I'm scrolling up on
I need to
YouTube.
Let's see. I think we got them all.
Yeah, I think we got them all.
Yeah, I think that's all the.
Oh wait, no. Did we ask when you write these stories? Is there any fraction of the book that relates to your own personal life?
Oh yeah, no, we didn't ask that.
I think for a writer, everything has some sort of personal touchstone. That I think the only thing that's truly personal is do the shout out to my dad, which was
that was brilliant.
I love that.
For some reason, people think that's me, but it's not me. That's my dad.
No, I knew it was your dad. Yeah, I knew because there was no junior, so I was like, it's not him.
Yeah, it's not a. Yeah, I thought it was brilliant.
That was I just so that was very much personal. Just do a little shout out to my dad, and I threw in personal touches throughout the book. The four little jump rope girls are named after my mom and three of my aunts. Just sort of sort of stuff that my siblings and my family will
pick up on
if
little
they
Easter
ever read
eggs.
the book,
What's their email addresses? They need to read it.
I was just beating up my son about an hour ago. Hey man, you gonna read the book yet?
He needs it needs to be read. This was awesome.
Well, I thank you. Please spread the word. And tell and tell everybody, any Amazon or Goodreads reviews they want to do. Those are very helpful to the cause. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. I think a lot of people have either tweeted or mentioned it on Instagram as well as Twitter.
All that stuff.
They've actually really talked about it a lot, to the point where we talked about it so much. People were like, "What's this orange book everybody keeps showing everywhere?" So there was people that hadn't joined in right away on our read along right from the beginning of February, but when they started seeing all of the the great tweets and messages and pictures, it was like a massive orange wave as well. So I think we're not ready to forget the last thing you surrender.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
I'm telling many people, I sent a picture of it with this long text to my dad. I'm like, you need to read this, was the gist of the text, but it's like 50 lines long.
Wow.
Just try to impress upon him the fact that get this book, you need to read this. So I'm telling everybody. I told my mom I'm gonna tell her pastor, who was my pastor when I was growing up. This is awesome. It's
been a great experience. But I think also it's a lot of people were like, well, how come we've never heard of this book before? How come we never heard of this author before? Why are people not talking about, it's, we
For sale of 2019, because what the hell? Like,
Well, it hasn't been for lack of me hollering and screaming and using every platform I can have access to say, hey, I wrote a book.
well, we
Check it
screaming now
out. Yeah.
because I'm so glad that Dee Dee found out about you and then picked this book.
Thank you,
because
Dee. Thank you.
You're
Yes, thank
very welcome. I was, I just, people were just like, are you sure about this? Because I think I was holding up two books to say it's either going to be this one or this one. And people kept going for the other one, but that's just because it was a book that they knew. I can't even remember what book it was. I was holding up.
I don't remember what it was.
I don't even remember what it was. Then I said, no, I'm going to go with this one because I like the subject matter.
You said that this was World War II, and I was like, okay, that's right in my wheelhouse. Do World War II.
Yeah, World War II with a Black American perspective. I said this had to be the one, and that's what clinched it for me. Which made me say this is going to be our Read So Lit, Black History Month read, and so be it. It's going to be good. I was like, I hadn't even
I'm honored.
Thing, so. I'm just glad that people enjoyed it and could, relate to it and are telling their friends about it. Hopefully they will keep telling their friends about it and they'll find your book and telling their friends. And we'll be looking for your part 2.
Yes, ma'am.
No pressure.
Yes,
no pressure.
I know, no pressure at all. All right.
Just know that should it ever happen, you've got a group of people who will be at the store ready to buy.
Yeah.
There you go. Thank you all. I appreciate it so much.
No, we appreciate you taking the time to come and chat with us and answer our questions. It's been a pleasure.
No, this was a pleasure for me. Y'all take care.
Yeah,
Bye.
you too.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, so that's
That was so awesome.
2 hours, but that was awesome meeting Mr. Leonard Pitts Jr.
Like y'all know, authors are my celebrities. So
I'm fangirling. I wish my copy was signed. Anyway, if you ever come to Europe, Mr. Pitts Jr., please let me sign my book. Anyway, yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed that. I know Tatiana and Michael and I did, it was great, chatting with him and getting the real inside scoop, and just to hear that he was hearing what we were saying and we got everything spot on.
Yes.
Spot on. Okay.
Yes.
The baby. So that's really cool. And so he is appreciative of the fact that everybody has been tweeting and, messaging, and keep it up. And if you have people asking for something interesting to read, girl, give them the book right here. Give them the book. Say, look, pick this up.
No, don't give them the book. Tell them to go buy their own copy.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about it before, the fact that, this book kind of was like sort of a sleeper.
Under the radar.
Books that came out in 2019, literally, it was all the way down at the bottom, and so people didn't notice it. But I'm glad that we managed to pick it up, and we all recognize its value, and that we get some press. So here again, I urge everyone, choose your books carefully.
Yes.
Don't just jump first freaking bandwagon that rolls by.
Yes. Do the research. That's one thing that I really appreciate about you, Dee Dee, with all of the work that you put into looking for these novels, because I suck at researching. So I appreciate having someone that I am close with who does research when it comes to finding these things, because my God, the fact that I'm blown away by the fact that no one knew anything about this novel. This man won a freaking Pulitzer Prize, and I never heard his name. What the hell? Where does that happen? That doesn't happen for white folks.
Yeah. Yeah, she's a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist, and nobody bothered to even look for his book. And I stand behind that idea that they're not looking for anyone else except for the people that are already there.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, you know, if it's the names they already know, they're fine with that. It's comfort. But anything that is like out of their comfort zone, which I say all pretty much most African American writers are out of most people's comfort zones on the platforms that we're all on. You know what I'm talking about, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Because that was one of the main reasons why I started Read So Lit, is because I felt like African American writers were largely neglected on, different, people's channels. And I mean, even some of the really big, names that we watch on BookTube, they ain't checking for that. And they're not
Right.
gonna be checking for it. They're never gonna check for it. Just the other day, I had a discussion with someone who will remain nameless. I'm not gonna say who it is, but we were talking about the UK and Black History Month. And that person was like, well, I don't know why Black History Month isn't in February like it is in the US. Why is it in October? I said, well, I can tell you why it's in October. It's in October because when they started it, they decided to equate it to the period where African leaders they reconcile their differences in October, and that's why they decided to put it in October. And then this person said, oh, I'm so ashamed. I didn't even know that. And then I just got like really annoyed because it's like, why am I schooling this person who's British on something that he should have take 2 seconds?
Yeah, learned itself.
Why am I schooling this person? I just stopped talking, That is the problem. And this is the reason why I will continue to have February be devoted to Black American writers only. Okay. The rest of the year, it's for the diaspora. Girl, go for it. Okay. But February, it's Black Americans because they're the ones that are not getting the press. I guarantee you will see more people reading African writers than you will see them reading Black American.
Black American.
They will swear to you that everything is gloom, doom, and slavery, and that we don't write about anything else. That's the only thing we know how to write about. Well, no,
that's not the case.
We can write chick lit, we can write mysteries, we can write literary fiction, we can write just as many types of novels as everybody else. It's just that everybody has to take the time to do the damn research and try to read something outside of your comfort zone for once. For once, 1 month. We're not asking you to do it every day, but if you could just read one damn book by a Black American writer in February,
right,
I would be happy. That's all I'm saying. Okay. So do your research, people. Tell your friends, if you read one that's good, like this one.
Share the information, not the book. Tell
Share
them to get their own copy
on the freaking Amazon or wherever they're gonna buy the book, their local shop, and get the book and read it.
Yes.
Tell your friends, and don't be shy to read books by Black American writers. This year, Read So Lit. If I didn't see anything, I saw more varied examples than any other year.
Yes. And I was pleasantly surprised in seeing that, but I was like, where has all of this variety been for the past 6 years? I don't know what it is about 2020 that people got a boost, but yes.
People will bring it. The Read So Lit roll was on point.
Fire. Okay? Yes.
On point. There was so many. I was up there scribbling. So many things I didn't know. Oh my God, I don't know that. Look, there's so many great content creators. You saw over 30 of them on the Read So Lit roll, and none of them were the same.
And a lot of them also have either YouTube channels or blogs. So if you don't follow them,
if you
find them, follow
you,
them.
You can follow them on their WordPress blogs,
Mm-hmm.
on their Bookstagram, on BookTube, on Litzy, even some of them. So, you know, the possibilities are finite, infinite, I should say. There are loads of good recs that came out of Read So Lit this year. I was very surprised.
Yeah.
I don't know, is it because the way I set up the challenge this year, it forced people to look at things differently. So they had to like really
I don't know. Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
I don't know, but it was really, really nice to see.
I felt like, gosh, it was really great not having to see only Toni Morrison in everybody's pictures.
Right.
I was like, oh my God, another Toni Morrison, you know, picture. Oh no, another Octavia Butler. You know, it's like, because those are the only ones that people have. But no, there was other stuff. And it was a pleasure, a real pleasure to see all of the possibilities people were coming up with. So no longer should anybody be saying they don't want to read Black American. They won't say it, but you know how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
They just
won't say it. They'll say it in private.
Yeah.
Like George with the N-word.
Either it's, oh, that literature isn't as good, or it's not as well written, or I hear, girl, I've heard everything.
And the one that kills me is this is similar to things I've read in other books, but you will read the same thing in other books by white folks 50 different times, but the one time you read it in a book by a Black person, it's a problem. Back the fuck up.
Well, you know, this is the thing. I mean, you know, look, I don't know what else to say, but I'm gonna keep saying it. I'm gonna keep preaching it. People can either listen, don't listen. But February, my jam is Black American writers.
Even if you don't want to listen, you're gonna hear a little bit of it, because you got to hear at least the first 5 seconds of an IG story to know what she's talking about, to know whether or not you want to skip. So you're gonna hear
it. That, I mean, I have to back the people that are not getting the backing, because they're not getting it. You know, perfect example.
Y'all, what the heck?
Get it? You can get it.
The most amazing thing about this is, number one, that it's amazing, and that we hadn't heard of it. I'm never gonna not be surprised by that.
Well, you know, this is it. I mean, you know, just do your research, and you know, you will find things out there that you're not hearing people talk about. And the thing is, people have to keep an open mind, because we get so caught up in the content creating and what's going on BookTube, for example, and it becomes like a vacuum, you know, like, in the bowl, and everybody is reflecting everyone, and so everybody is reading the same book.
Flush the bowl. Start with a fresh bowl.
And then if you add the bandwagon factor along with it, worse.
Yeah.
Talk about the worst picks ever, you know. Then there you are reading the same crappy book, and everybody's saying, oh, you know, you see,
not just reading the same crappy book, buying
crappy book. And then you'll hear 2 people who had said it was great, and then after that, it just kind of falls off, like a limp limb or something, you know. Nobody wants to talk about it anymore. But you know, this is how it is, and you know, BookTube is, you know, the perfect example of that, is the fact of how it's broken up into so many different, you know, fractions and groups.
Yeah,
and they very rarely, what do you call it? They very rarely overlap each other. And on Bookstagram, it's even worse, because on Bookstagram, everything new is good. You know, if it just came out yesterday, it's good.
Right.
Nobody's even read the damn thing.
This is amazing. I just got my copy 2 hours ago, and I finished it, and this is amazing.
So, you know, when you get that, then you have to really be careful, because if the person just got the book and it's Pub Tuesday, you know, so you get the same book photographed 60 times. You see the same book on 60 different pages on the same day.
And see, I don't follow as many bookstagrammers as you do, so I don't see as many posts about the same books that Dee sees, because I follow people who like to read some of the stuff that I like to read, and which is like across the board. It's, you know, not just one particular genre or one particular thing. But
I mean, it's
yeah,
when you see that. I saw that one day. I saw the same book literally photographed 60 times.
wow.
I thought, okay, they really did this publicity day good.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, I just think be careful and, you know, try not to, you know, let yourself be, you know, taken over by bandwagons and stuff like that.
And not that even getting on a bandwagon is a bad thing, but don't let your reading consist only of the bandwagon.
You won't end up having a disappointing year in the end.
Because we all have FOMO. I have read books that I otherwise would not have picked out if not for the FOMO situation. But those aren't the only books that I read. You know, you can read other things, and then sometimes you get FOMO and you pick up a book and the book is shit, and you're like, okay, man.
Yeah, like you're like, oh man, you know. So I'll just say proceed cautiously. It's your money, not mine. You know, so you know, do what you want, but just be careful because you know we're faced with the idea that these platforms are getting bigger and bigger. The publishers are getting smarter and smarter because they know that all they have to do is wave a few freebies in front of people's faces, because that's what everybody was bitching about wanting was free books. Now they get the shit is crap, and they don't even want to tell you the shit is crap. They just photograph it and keep it moving. You never hear them talk about the book after that because they haven't read it. So, you know, just be careful and, you know, try to do a little bit of research. You don't have to spend every day researching, but like if it's a day where you know you're going to go out and buy books in a bookstore or something, then go to the bookstore and let yourself go. Let yourself wander through the shelves and see what you find without having to necessarily be influenced by someone else on BookTube or Bookstagram or somewhere trying to influence you to buy some book that you're not even sure that you're even going to like. So, you know, I mean, I'm just saying beware, people, and, you know, just do more research. And hopefully people will start to gravitate more towards Black American writers than they have been, is what I hope happens. But every day, every beginning of the year, I say this. I say, oh, people will start reading more Black American writers. And sure enough, the moment we get into mid-March.
I was getting ready to say, by March 10th, the thrill is gone.
The thrill is gone. Exactly. So, you know, people just, they just fall right on off and they just don't care anymore. So, you know, anyway, February was fantastic. And, you know, I'll be, you know, getting things ready, you know, like this for the next year, trying to figure out ways to get people to do stuff that's fun. But yeah, thanks to everybody who participated in the photo challenge. He participated in the role. The role was new this year. The role was fantastic. Everybody came through with different posts, which was fantastic because it was different styles and all Black American glory in literature. You know, it's Black bibliophile, Black American bibliophile dream. I had a lot of pleasure in opening up my Insta stories to then check on who was doing what for the day. And I think it's fantastic. So we will definitely keep the role for next year.
Yay.
And, yeah, so that worked really well because I wasn't sure if it would really work.
It worked so well.
Yeah.
And what I really liked about the role was that everybody got to participate how they wanted to participate. Like you gave them the freedom, you gave us the freedom to pick how we wanted to do it, and everybody did something different. So you weren't getting the same type of content every single day. It was
very different content.
Different. Yeah.
And even my little Black Frenchies came in at the end. Come on, Marina. And
Yes.
I had Christelle and Dina. Yeah, I had my Black French in there. And yeah, and it'll be just as varied next year as well. And so we'll definitely keep that because I think it's something, that added to the whole idea of just the photo challenge itself. So we'll definitely do that again. But yeah, so I thank everybody for participating and hanging in there. 29 days it seems really short, but when you're doing all that stuff at the same time, it's just like
Yeah. It's a lot.
A lot.
you kind of get bombarded with a lot, but it was a pleasure, and it was the everything. The Read So Lit read along was fantastic. We were lucky enough to have Mr. Leonard Pitts Jr. join us tonight, and that happened. That all got squared away today. Okay,
That was awesome. I thank you for putting the ask out there because
I didn't even
was
ask.
awesome.
I just basically what I did was I tweeted it out, and he saw it, and he said, "Oh, I'm going to watch that." I said, "Well, would you like to join us?"
Dude, that's asking.
Yeah.
I never would have thought to ask because again, I'm like, you probably got shit to do.
He was like, he goes, when is that gonna, is that 3 p.m. Eastern? I said, no, it's 4 p.m. Eastern. And then I said, yeah, well, I'll be there chatting with two of my friends. And then he said, oh, okay, I'll come and watch it. I said, well, would you like to join us? He goes, well, sure.
Before we leave, do you have any announcement on like your merch that you want to let everyone know?
Girl. Yeah. Look, merch. Girl, that merch is killing me. All right, I'll explain to you. So the merch, it is coming. I hope that it'll be out for mid-March.
Oh, let me go get mine so you can see.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say my bad.
Now wait, because the merch, for the moment, the merch you got might not be the merch that everybody gets.
Okay.
But you can show
they give me something else to buy.
Well, the thing is, because when I did it on Teespring, and the problem with Teespring is Teespring does not give the same quality to Europe as it does to US. They don't have the same suppliers.
Right. Michael, she said the merch that becomes available may be different from what we got.
Oh, well, I should have been drinking out of this then.
I know
the whole day. I should have been like,
now you see,
I'm gonna do it right now.
I'm thinking to Spreadshirt because the merch that I'm gonna have for Spreadshirt is gonna be, that mug is gonna be all black, which is what I originally wanted. Okay, and Teespring wouldn't give me all black; it gave me this white, and I really want that. Okay, so no worries, the merch is coming probably through Spreadshirt. But I've got to reorganize my logo to fit their, what is it? You know all about this, Michael. The vectoral something has to be right. Whatever that is. So my daughter said, "Oh, I got to put it on Illustrator." I was like, "Oh, okay."
I believe I got bigger, and I could have had my Read So Lit mug. I'm not smart.
I don't have my bag because it's in my car when I go grocery shopping.
The merch is coming. Okay,
Mine is sitting there in my office because I'm taking it into work with me when I have to go in on Monday.
I'm striving for mid-March. You will all see the merch in mid-March, and I think it'll all be from Spreadshirt. Okay. So, because Spreadshirt will allow me to have my mug exactly the way I want it, which is all black with the letters in white with the red heart. So it'll all be black, and then the bags will either be black or white.
Okay.
And they'll be probably, you'll see. You'll see. So I'm still working on mid-March.
That's exciting, yeah.
I'm excited.
Because they don't tell you the qualities are different.
Right, because y'all, when Didi got her bag, I was like, what the hell?
I was like, what the fuck is this? That ain't what I ordered. I got so pissed off at them. They reimbursed me one of the bags.
Good. They needed to reimburse all of it.
Girl.
Because they didn't disclose to you that it would be different. They should have reimbursed it all.
Yeah, well, the thing is, they don't tell, but you see, a lot of, I think, YouTubers use Teespring, but they don't give a shit that the quality isn't the same in Europe. They don't care because they probably most of the people that watch them, they say they think are in America, so they don't care about people that order in Europe.
That works a little differently when you got people who live in Europe.
Girl, when you see the bag thing compared to the bag you got,
yeah,
I'm like, what the hell is this? No, because I have people that follow me in Europe as well, so I want them to get good merch too. So Spreadshirt seems to be able to give me. They don't have the same suppliers either, but their quality seems to be very similar,
more in line with but from between America and Europe.
So what I'm gonna do is I'm working on that. We got to change the vectoral thing of the logo, so it has to go because my daughter did the logo for me on. She did Photoshop, and they need Illustrator. I think is what it needs to be. So when Fashion Week is over, she's gonna hook me up and fix it.
I was getting ready to ask you if she was gonna do that for you.
Well, yeah, because she's the one that came up with the logo. I told her what I wanted, and she found the graphic.
Okay.
But she also did my logo for Brown Girl Reading. That's her.
Okay.
I told her what I wanted, and she drew it all up. I ain't doing it. I don't know how to do that stuff on Photoshop.
Wow. Okay.
She did that. So yeah, so
that's awesome.
She's out of her Fashion Week and her work. Then she gonna get back on my merch.
Oh, be so lit. Awesome. That's awesome.
So if all goes well, I'll have a link up for the merch either the second or third week of March. Third week is the latest. I think I'll have it mid-March. And then that way, you can see what we're gonna have. So it'll be like that. So that's just like I should have done this in December, but I just didn't have time to do it properly. I didn't think it would take so long, and I didn't think I'd have this qualities. I didn't even think about that. I just assumed that the qualities would be the same. And when I saw that they weren't, I was like, no. And on top of it, they make you pay the same price,
which is crazy for a pillowcase bag.
It's like, no, ain't nobody paying that for this. It's not even the same bag. I mean, so anyway, enjoy your bags because those are nice bags.
I am enjoying mine. Thank you very much.
But you guys are special, so you're gonna have a different bag. But yeah, so that's the thing with the merch. But yeah, it's a little bit complicated. So yeah, that will come, and then hopefully, what I'll do is I'll have planned to have a special merch for next year, specifically for Read So Lit. So I'll just have to work on what that's going to look like.
Yay.
But I'll do it earlier than January.
Well, because now you know what you want, so that'll make it a little easier
working with. Because at least with Spreadshirt, it's in France, so I can call them.
Oh, okay, that's good.
Call them between 8 in the morning and 6 in the evening.
Okay,
and get somebody on the phone.
Versus Teespring, they close.
Teespring, I'd have to get online on their website, and then it would have to be 3:00 in the afternoon here, and then they'll be on. But they have it split up to the person that answers questions and stuff from people, and then you have the creativity team is a separate thing. So they'll say, oh, well, I don't know. You have to ask the creative team, which means then you have to send an email to someone else. Wait for them to answer the email, and then you back and forth with the emails 2, 3, 4 times.
Oh my Lord.
It's not at all conducive to understanding
that's not user friendly.
It's not user friendly, and it's not after sales service. It's terrible.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna, I'm thinking Spreadshirt is gonna work out so far, and they gave me all the information I needed by telephone, and so it seems like it's gonna be much better, and it'll be easier for me to work with them. So
great.
That's the plan. So yeah, so I'll be back on YouTube hopefully next week with a couple of reviews because I have not been on in like a month. But anyway.
Hello, I got my stuff from January. I haven't uploaded. Like I am the epitome of late right now.
The struggle of it all, being sick, not having a voice for 1 week, coughing for 12 days, still coughing now, but a lot less.
It's a lot less and a lot better today.
It's terrible. So I had to go to work today. So I had no choice. I had to go to work this morning. So yeah, it's been really, really tough. Yeah, the link for the merch will be on the BookTube channel when it's up. I'll probably, talk about it a little bit at the beginning of one of my videos.
And we'll tweet it. We'll tweet the link when it goes live.
Yeah, I'll put it it'll be in the, what do you call it, the description box.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have it, I'll give it to Tatiana and Michael and other people to tweet out. And it'll also have a link for Instagram as well. So you'll know when it comes out. I'll let you know. So that's that. But so
thank y'all for joining us.
Thank y'all so much for joining. I think
yes,
I think this is the most amount of people that we have had. I need to look at the last streams. Yeah, but I think this is the most we've had in a stream from beginning to end.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So thank you all so much.
Over 2 hours.
The time out of your Saturday afternoon.
Yes.
To watch this live. And for the people that came in a little bit late, don't worry. This will be up on my channel. When I end, it will then boot over there and you can watch the whole thing there. If you would just want to get to the good parts, just go right to where Mr. Pitt.
Yeah.
Scrub through the first hour and then you can watch the first hour.
It's Mr. Pitt, okay?
So put a timestamp, Dee, on your description, like 1 hour. Here you go.
1 hour, and unless you just want to hear us gabbing about the book and stuff. But the good parts are when Mr. Pitts is here.
Yeah.
Let me just see if there's anybody else has anything to say.
Could you do someone? There are people asking us if we could do it like monthly or quarterly. Oh, it's a lot. Trust me.
People were disappointed that you didn't do the Black Book Chat like you did last year. Like people were.
I couldn't talk.
I know. I was like, that was a lot of work.
I couldn't. I wouldn't mind it. I would have done it if I wasn't sick. I was literally 2 weeks after the month I was sick, so I couldn't really do it. But I will make a point next year. I've been taking notes in my book journal for next year. I will make a serious point next year to do at least 2 Black Book Chats.
Marina threw out thrice.
Thrice a year.
Thrice a year.
I'm sorry. I'm laughing. I love to see thrice in regular conversation. That kind of sort of made my evening. Thrice and chagrin.
Well, a quarterly. I don't know if Michael and Tatiana and I can do this quarterly. That's a lot. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, at the last minute I was reading his book. Okay, 2 hours.
Right. Michael finished this book. Michael finished this book like I finished The Count of Monte Cristo last year. Today.
2 hours before we came up. I finished.
Well, the thing is, what we could do is, if all goes well, we could do another one in October, because October is Black History Month in the UK. So I'm planning on putting a read along together for October. So you can look out for that. We'll read something by a UK author, and Michael and Tatiana and I will get together and we'll do another live. We'll set it up on the Goodreads and we'll read together. Quarterly is just really difficult for us.
That is a lot.
That's a lot.
Yeah, I mean,
it would be great if we could, but that's a lot.
It might kill it,
That is true.
Coordinating it would
kill it.
It would be more of a weight than we want it to be. Like, we enjoy that this is fun.
Yeah,
we want to keep that fun feeling and not have it feel like it's work. So doing it quarterly and having to do all of that coordinating and everything, it would make more work than we want it to be.
All 3 of us are reading our own stuff as well on the side.
Michael has to finish
Dostoevsky, I'm still on it, y'all.
Yeah,
Markov.
Michael has a big ass book to finish. Like, I'm still on it.
Markov. So he's, we're all reading our own thing on the side. We enjoy reading, but we enjoy doing this, but it can't be something we do quarterly. But like I said, we can do it again in October. So look out in October. We'll figure out something to read in October that we can do another big read along for, especially since in October, none of the British content creators do anything for Black History Month in October anyway. So, girl, I'm just saying. She's just drinking her tea. None of them even mentioned that it's Black History Month in the UK.
I've been watching people who in the UK for years. Do you know when I found out UK had a Black History Month? When I met you.
Oh, shit. So, since they ain't doing nothing, we gonna do a read along and let everybody know it's October 1st. So, it's UK. And then maybe, I'll try to make an effort to post more things on my Bookstagram about some of the UK authors, like Dorothy Coomsum and Braithwaite and a few people, So I'll try and see if I can, do more of that.
Who have lived there, are married to somebody who's British. They just found out today.
Girl, look.
He opens up your mind.
Yeah, you need to open up your mind. You really do. Zadie Smith,
Zadie Smith.
other people. So look out for that read along. The three of us will be trying to figure out something to read and that we could do for read along, and we'll let you guys know. We'll let you guys know like at the end of August or something, so people have time.
Oh, yeah, time for books, yeah.
So we won't. Yeah, JJ Bola as well. JJ Bola is really good.
All right, so Marina, just make a list and tweet us all.
Good. But I only read that one book by JJ Bola.
She has all the goods.
Yeah, well, yeah, because a lot of the UK writers are African descent, so they're either from Nigeria or Ghana or somewhere, So, but yeah, JJ Bola is good. His stuff is good. That first novel, that debut novel, was good. Yeah, so we'll find something, and that'll give us a chance to get together again. But until then, everybody keep reading whatever you want to read. Keep posting on the Bookstagram.
Yes.
Or on the BookTube or wherever you post. And we'll get together soon and do another read along and discussion. So thanks to everybody for coming to the chat, and we're gonna go.
Bye.
Bye everybody.
Bye y'all.
Or the BookTube. Bye.
Bye. Oh.
All right.